Yo, we appreciate y'all joining us. I am here with my boy Julius, and I met Julius actually when I was working sort of for MLB, but really properly for the World Baseball Classic. And I was the national team operations coordinator. I handled pretty much all aspects of two teams. One of them was Team Germany, and met Julius there. We kind of just hit it off, really. I mean, bro, like, do you remember that first interaction? It's probably like in the clubhouse, right? Like, I think that's when we met.
Yo, swagged out, bro. It was like, I think, bro, it was honestly how I could. No, bro, I don't think it was. I think it was in the hotel. In the hotel lobby. Yeah, it was in the lobby when we arrived. And bro, the crazy thing about it is, man, when how I can connect with somebody is honestly right straight from the handshake. And you came at you, yeah.
My guy.
Bro, you came at me with the bam. I was like,
Facts. I was like, oh, he's gonna be real. He's gonna be real. Not
hey, yeah. It's like, hello. It was like, what's good? I was like, you, my man.
That's a fact.
Like,
Yeah, no,
that's
a
a
funny memory
smooth,
right there, for real.
that's a
No, that's
smooth
funny. I
ass
forgot
hand.
about that.
Yeah, that's a smooth ass handshake. And I was like, I think I could vibe. I think I could vibe with this guy. I think I could actually vibe with this guy.
Yeah, bro, for real, for real. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate you joining me for real, bro. Like I remember just hitting you up literally like I think it was like 48 hours ago, and you were like, yeah, like I'm about it, and that's dope. And for y'all watching this, so we are going to be examining as well as dismantling locker room culture. And we talked about it, Julius and I, a little bit briefly about just team sports and how that's very prominent locker room culture or clubhouse culture, however you want to classify it. And I think that there were a couple of main themes that we were talking about separately heading into this. And a couple were just like diversity and inclusion, as well as even just like items such as just openness and vulnerability that we, especially as men of color, to compound that, that don't really rise to the surface in these locker rooms. So really just get us started, bro. I mean, you think about the term like locker room talk or locker room culture or what stays in the locker room or what says there, stays there. What comes to mind like when you think of that term, locker room talk?
I mean, any athlete, man, honestly, you can relate to the time when either if it's with a new club or with a new team, you step into that locker room and the first thing you do, you look around. Like either you know the guys already, so it's like after the off season comes in, you come in, or even if it's a new club that you play for, you come in and you check out where your name is, or if you know any face from before, like in the league that I play in, you know yourself, like you know all the dudes around you pretty much from the league and stuff. So everybody can relate to the first time you step into the locker room. It's like, all right, here we go. Like how are the vibes gonna be?
What is
like,
the culture? Right.
What is the like? Yeah, vibes equals culture. Like, what is it? How is the setup? Like, how does it look? How does it smell? Who's in it? How well organized is it? How big is it? Do I have my own space? Do I have to share my locker with somebody else? If you don't make it to the big show or to the biggest organizations or biggest ball like my major league or like minor league ball, you play overseas where I play, like in Germany. Not every club has a big locker room with your own locker. So I was fortunate enough to play for teams where I have my own locker. But at the same time, there are different levels to this shit. Like in anything else, there's levels to it. So when I hear about locker room talk or locker room conversations, like that shit can be so empowering, but it can also be so like a place where you don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it could be bright or it could be ugly as fuck.
Yeah. It could be toxic, bro. It can be like, yo, like that's my guy, and I can't wait to come back in from the dugout and really like cameras are off. I don't got to worry about like having a front on or whatever.
Right.
But then on the other side of it, it's like, fuck, like I got to go back to that toxic ass place, and we just got walked off, and I know that shitty teammate is gonna just, like bring out some really negative energy.
Bro, that's what I have right now. Like the club that I play for right now has a toxic ass locker room. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's awful. Like it's really, and I came from a club where it's the exact opposite. So I came from a club. I played for Heidenheim for 3 years, which is one of the top clubs in Europe, and their locker rooms it's a beautiful place. It's like, I don't want to leave. Like, I could chill in here. Like, during the games, it would be like, yeah, I have to use your bathroom. I'm going into the locker room to use the bathroom. I'm just going to sit in my locker. Like,
facts. Yapping on my boys, yo. Right.
What are you doing in here? Nothing. We're in the fourth. You're a reliever. You got to get hot. All right, bet. Let me just, I get out there. Right.
I was going to say, especially as a pitcher, bro. All right. So then, well, I mean, you brought up like the polar ends of the spectrum, right? So like what components consist of a good locker room? And then what are, what's the opposite? What's the opposite look like?
I mean, it's the conversations that happen. It's the conversations that happen in the locker room. Is the people that you have around you in that locker room. Like, you have to think about it. It's a confined space at the end of the day. Like, you got 25 dicks rocking around, and it's like, you got a couple of guys that compare dicks. They're like, yo, my shit's bigger than yours, in terms of like being straight up with it. And you got guys that are not in the front at all. They're just they're like little mice in the corner that don't want to be seen at all. You got guys that are entertainers like me. I'm a guy that hops in the locker room. I make shit lit. Like, I get loud. Like, yeah, I get amped up all the time. Like, I'm mad excited. There's videos out of me, not out, but my boys have videos where I'm like going crazy in there, like, just because I'm that type of energy type of guy. But and that collides with somebody that's not. You got a guy that's like super quiet and introverted that's like looks at me from the angle is like, yo, calm that shit down. So you have to be like in a locker room. It's like it's a small space with big personalities, because once you reach a certain level of play, it's like you bring a certain personality with you. So within that locker room, it's a very challenging time. At the same time, it's like, all right, where do I fit in that small ass space? Mm-hmm. So it's like, with that being said, it could be an uplifting space where you enjoy coming to, because after, like, over here, it's like people work full time and then they come to the locker room where they can just shut off. Or if you have that locker room where there's so many different personalities and different kinds of beings, where it can be toxic. So it's like it's a coin toss. Like, you could be lucky or you could be like not lucky and have like a shitty ass place. So it's like,
you feel like being that dude that like keeps things light. Do you think that you've always been that way? Do you think that, like, and maybe you as a person, but let's say you kind of exuding that as a player, do you think that's kind of transformed for you a little bit from being that like super young dude all the way up to like now? I mean, you're a vet now, you know what I mean? You've been around
for sure. Yeah, I wasn't like that all the time. I was, but I was not able to show that all the time. So I was told to shut the fuck up when I was a kid. Like, when I was 18 to 22, 23.
Same.
I was told to shut the fuck up. And then I was like, you dumb motherfucker.
Right.
You're telling me not to be myself right now, but I swallow it. I'm going to be like, okay, my time will come where you cannot tell me to do that. Because that's too, like, that's a part where, like, sports is such a big character builder. It's like, all right, how do you handle that situation when you're a rookie or something? Like, when you're somebody that's not established yet, that's 18, 19, playing with the men's team for the first year. Like, you go in and you're like, can I sit here?
Yeah,
is
for
this,
real.
Is this
my jersey? Yeah. I don't even know, bro. I feel that.
Can I sit here, please?
Yeah.
No, that's feel that. And I remember fucking in 2016, the World Baseball Classics was in New Mexico. No, yeah. And I wasn't on the roster or anything, because I wasn't on the radar for Team Germany at all in 2016. But I was living in Florida at that time, and I was training accessory sports performance, developing myself as a pitcher. And I emailed the manager from Team Germany. I was like, hey, I'm in the States as well. I know you guys are coming. Can I invite myself and just show you guys that I'm worthy of being on the team? And he said, well, you can fly yourself out. You can be a part of the team, but you can't be on the roster. But I will give you the opportunity to just showcase yourself for maybe the next WBC. I was like, bet, no worries, I'll do that. And then I knew a couple of guys on the team, of course, from Germany and stuff. But when I got there, they were all already in the locker, and I got there, and then there was no name. Like they didn't have this on there. You know,
no nameplate. Yep.
They didn't have this. No nameplate.
I remember. Yeah.
No nameplate, and actually they wrote like my name on a piece of paper, and they turned it around and wrote somebody else's name on it. So when I got there, everybody had their locker, but it was just me that didn't have my locker. And I stood there in the middle like, oh shit. Like I'm supposed to have a locker. Like I know, but it's not here. And I see everybody's just at their locker putting their shit up, and everybody's just laughing kind of and looking at me kind of. And I'm like, this is awkward. And I'm 25 years old, bro. Like I'm not a kid, but I'm still new to I'm not even on the team. Like I invited myself. And then I saw it. And then I saw that they turned it around. And then I was like, and I looked and they all started laughing. I was like, really? Like that's not even funny.
Right.
Like,
yeah, like my heart was in my stomach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro. I was like, that's not even cool right now. But at the end of the day, man, you know, I was there 2020. You know, I had my nameplate, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like it could be a nasty ass place, but it could be a beautiful place too. So it's all about perspectives as well, man.
Yeah. On the flip side of it, think about it as like now again, like you have been around the international game for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of a time that like you kind of brought maybe like a younger player under your wing, and it could be through the program that you do, maybe even if not necessarily like, let's say an equal, you know, like horizontally speaking, but even just like some of the younger dudes that you work with and what that mentorship looks like and how that has manifested itself with the landscape of their comfort in the locker room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like through that, I always kind of get players kind of under my wing, but I tell them that that's a part of the process. Like that being a rookie, you have to be on the equipment more. Like you have to, but I did some crazy shit too. Like just the fact that I'm maybe a little bit different. Like the team that I played for the last 3 years, which is like one of the top 10 teams in Europe. I did this thing every Friday. I cleaned people's cleats. And I even cleaned rookies' cleats.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, because I dislike just because they were rookies that they had to undergo certain treatments or anything like that. Like, just because they're rookies, it's like, nah. At the same time, I'm a serve you as well, but you need to understand that I'm not going to carry all the buckets. Like, that's still your job. But at the same time, I look at you on eye level. Like I'll do some shit for you too. Like it's a give and take kind of. So know your place. That when it's raining, you got to be the first one to cover the fucking field.
Back.
Like stuff like that. But within the locker room, it's like it's honestly all the time. Every team I played for, that kids came onto the men's team that are younger, they never said shit, man. They always stayed quiet. They always. You can't deny the energy and presence in the locker room. You can't deny it. I never been on a team, even if you were the all-star at the under 18s and you come to the men's, you still were quiet.
What are some ways in which you got these dudes to come out of their shell a little bit though? Because sometimes, and we've talked about this, sometimes, bro, like your comfort on a team and your ability, and I mean, this is me talking like in the workplace now. Like I still play, sure, but in the workplace, when I can bring my authentic self, my productivity is higher. Same thing on the field, bro. Like when you can bring your true self, your real self, I feel like to an extent, it can kind of give you that extra.
100%.
So yeah, bro, like what are some ways in which you get them to like, yo, like loosen up a little bit?
100%, bro. The shit that I do is, I mean, I'm a character too, bro. So I can just get like, a dude could do like, he could get like the with the 15-3 ball game, he could get a pinch hit at bat at the bottom of the ninth, and he'll get a single up the middle. I'll be like, yo, come on, man, yeah, but like, yo, man. So I get on him. I'm like, as soon as they come into the locker room, I'm like, yo, whenever he walks in, everybody clap. And then a bull walks in, and everybody was clapping. And my mother be like, yeah, I'm like, yo, bro, that shit was fire. Like, and then, or like, we had a kid that had his first hit in the first league, and we wrote, like, you know how everybody gets the ball, like, when they do their first hit, and we just did like a little prank on him that rewrote on the ball, like, first shit hit and stuff like that. And then we'll toss him like the real ball, and they're like all happy about it. So like celebrating the small things that they do well, like definitely a big component of what I did in the past. Is just like when they did the smallest shit right, I'll be like, yo, that shit was mad nice that you did that. Like, you stole the base.
And, little examples like that, man, that first of all, for the fans and for even like staff, that's shit that we don't see. So to hear that, I mean, those are little things that we can incorporate like in our lives. You know what I mean? Like, and might be like a reach of an example here, but like you think about Kobe, and he's always just like, like, yes, I'm an athlete, and yes, I wake up at 4 a.m., but really my shit is just about like working hard. And one of like the monologues that he once delivered was just like even if you're like a doctor or an accountant, just like be the best that you can at that. And what I'm saying with all this is focus on the micro, the little shit,
100%.
The little shit that all adds up along the way, that in this case, as you just described, develops a really positive culture.
100%. It's not, if you can't do the small things right, you don't even bother doing the big things right. But that goes into the locker room culture as well. Like, the problem that we have right now is like people don't take care of their locker, and that shit gets me furious. That shit gets me talking. Yo, bro, I get like, it's like the locker room is like a living room, It's like a living room, and if you don't take care of that, if you don't keep it clean, then you can't expect that the things that you do outside on the field are going to be clean. Like, you gotta do that. And if in a locker room culture, if a couple of players don't understand that, then that's toxic again. It's like, look at my space. My shit's clean. Like, I have my jersey hung up. I have my pants hung up. I have I wipe my shit down.
Spikes, right.
I got my spikes there. And it's like, and here you have a fucking whole trophies of dip cans. Like, I don't care if you dip, but that's not, like, if I coach under 15s and they come into the locker room and you display like your dip cans as gloriousness trophies, then that's a false message from my point of view. So like, you have a responsibility, and just like my dad always used to tell me, like, you could tell by a person how they treat their car what kind of person they are. Like, the way that you treat your locker room is like, that's how I can tell what kind of person you are, honestly. Because
that's a great point. I mean, it's representative of who you are, of your habits, and who you are as a person. Now, it also, like, it says a little bit about who you are to your fellow players, and this could be a good thing. It could be a photo of your niece. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he's a family-oriented individual. On the other side, just like you said, like, yo, I just got a whole stack of Skull. And that's sick, bro. Like, that's your priority.
That's cool, bro.
And then also, like, to the coaching staff as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that sometimes can help the coaching staff as to, like, yo, how am I going to coach you?
And let me ask you this. See, in that situation about those dip cans, it's a 17-year-old kid that has that. It was his first year with the men's, and he already has that. Like, how, and I didn't play this year because I took a step back to observe more, because I was in the middle of figuring out if I want to be like MJ with the Bulls, like get the Bulls to win. Like I told you, remember I messaged you that?
Yep. Or start my own shit. Yep.
Yeah. So I was like, what do I want to do? Do I want to just join a club that's already successful, like, and just keep the winning streak going, or do I want to become a Michael Jordan and help uplift the whole fucking team and that culture's environment? And on that team, there's a kid that does that. Like, he's a rookie, and he displays like the whole cans of dip. Like, that's something that you do as a rookie. As a rookie, you're quiet, man. Establish yourself first. Learn, observe. Go into the room and observe. Look at look at all the veteran players that you have. Like, who do you want to be like?
Mm-hmm.
And like, you remember, Sasha wasn't there. Sasha Lutz?
Koch? Oh,
No,
yeah.
not Donald Lutz was there, but not
Donald Lutz.
Sasha,
Oh,
but
okay,
not
no,
his
okay.
brother, Sasha.
Lutz,
So,
yeah.
Simon Guerin.
Yep.
You remember Simon?
Yep.
He's like a guy, when I came into the locker room, I was like, definitely taking some percentage of him.
Yeah.
Then I saw Sasha Lutz, Donald's brother. I was like, definitely taking a lot of percentage from that guy. Because it's like each older player, veteran, has something where I'm like, I'm going to take a little bit of him, take a little bit of him, and I'm going to apply it to myself and just become my own. But just the bits and pieces of what I think is very, very role model-ish of these individuals. And if you're a rookie and you come in and you do that, it's like, where did you get that from? I don't think that's the right place to start when you're fresh into a men's or adult team or maybe it is. Maybe you establish yourself like that. You're the dude that has a locker full of skull cans.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, well, what's really the payout there? I like what you said about just like kind of picking and choosing aspects of your vets and kind of almost creating like a hybrid of those guys and incorporating that into myself and who I am and how I carry myself. Bro, do you feel like that ever really stops though? I feel like it doesn't.
No.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Because you always get, the team's always different. You always get, every year you get one or two new guys or, and then you got some other stuff that you evolve as a player as well. And especially season to season is different. You have different conversations in the locker room that might shape you in a little bit of a different way. There's guys that come in that get changed and they leave right away. They don't spend no time in the locker room. And there's certain times or guys like me guys like me, I spend all my time in the locker room. Like, I only go when I have to throw. Like, I want to, like the way our field is set up, I can look from the entry of the dugout, the locker room onto the field. Like, I would love to just sit there and watch the game from there. But
something I thought about was like, and this can happen behind closed doors as well, in the dugout as well as behind closed doors. The concept of like disciplining teammates, right? So I'm gonna give you an example, and it happened in the dugout. It could have happened in the locker room. I probably would have preferred to happen in the locker room. Here's the example. So Wheaton College, Massachusetts, top 25 Division III baseball program in the country. Just really good program. And, coming out of high school, like I wasn't recruited for anything. I didn't have video, didn't have money to fucking get video, nor pay somebody to edit it, nor go to these perfect game or AAU tournaments because those shits were way too expensive. And so anyways, I walk onto the team. Cool. I'm proud of myself. I'm not like feeling myself. I'm still hella humble. And I'm just watching. I'm like, yo, like I'm a freshman walk on. Nobody knows who the fuck I am. Oh, and by the way, from New York City when everyone's from Farmtown, Massachusetts. Nothing wrong with that. Just different from what I grew up with. And so like as to how this relates to disciplining. So, again, I'm observing everything. Everyone wears high socks, stirrups, black cleats, all fully black. All right, that. I'm not going to wear no wristbands. I'm not going to wear no sunglasses because I noticed nobody else on the team was wearing it. Cool. No problem. I'm cool with that. Now, and that's a separate conversation because sometimes it's nice to have that a little bit of individuality. Anyway, stay on track here. In an intra-squad game, I had finally gotten at bat, game 2 of a doubleheader, 7th inning, and I was like, dope, like, when I ground out to second, no big deal. So, I sprint down to first, hustle it out, get thrown out, no problem. And I'm walking back to the dugout. First base dugout, it's right there, 3 steps away, not much foul territory. And a senior reliever right up into my face. And I'm 5'8", so he goes up to me from fucking 6'2", so I'm already looking up at him. And he goes, if you ever make out, we hustle back to the dugout. We don't do that walking shit here. And I was like, all right, like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know. Like, bro, I didn't know. I am a freshman. Walk on, fam.
Right.
Like, I didn't know. And I didn't talk back. I didn't chirp back. What's there to say back? I got out. I didn't hustle back. I should have hustled back. I didn't know that was culture. It was literally my first day there. Like, I'd walked on at 4 o'clock that day, the instructor. And so when it comes to disciplining, right? Like,
Right.
let's say, especially from like a seniority level.
Right.
You know what
Bro,
I mean? Because
so
that fucked me up for the rest of my time there.
bro,
Period.
I was I graduated in '09 from Philly. I went to high school in Philly, went back to Germany for my civil service, and I played on the. I was actually in the same situation where I got disciplined because I was chirping too much. I was a big time chirper. Off the bench, no business chirping at all. And I was like, because that was my character. I was who I am at that time. I was that 18, 19-year-old kid. I just came from Philly, bro. What? So I was a Philly boy, high energy. I was saying like, yo, this joint is crazy. I was in my Philly bag all day. And I was there, bro. And I was just like chirping. I was on the bench. I was nobody. I was like making music off the bucket, making beats off the bucket. I'm like chirping. I'm like yelling shit out in Spanish. I don't even speak Spanish like that. And then talking about being humbled. So the game's over. We're going at the end of the game. We shake hands with the team. The entire team did not shake my hand. Yeah,
Dubbed you.
Dubbed me, all of them, except for Donald Lutz, except for Sasha Lutz, okay. Donald's brother. He came up to me. He looked at me. He said, "Don't ever do that again. You talked way too much. Don't ever do that again." All right. I looked him in the face. I said, "All right." He shook my hand. I walked right through the line. Nobody dapped me up. I was like, lesson learned. My team didn't stop me from being that chirpy kid, putting somebody in their place, you know. And like you said, like that could have happened in the locker room as well. Like my teammates could have been like, after we changed, like, yo, Jules, like, you can't do that kind of stuff. Like, but again, like with your situation, that didn't happen in the locker room. It happened in the field.
All right, word. So, just some really good examples here. And it's also just like, listen, like we each had ways in which we would have liked for that to have gone over differently. But as we learn, especially in team sports as well as men's team sports, you ain't always going to be coddled, brother. You're not always going to be like, oh, it's okay, Kyle. Like, run back to the dugout next time. No, sometimes you need to get your ass handed to you. And that's like, okay, I can still take that. It's just, be prepared for that. Like, be aware, be hyper aware that that's part of the culture. I think it brings me into like my last point. So a couple of things that we touched on. So like the first thing you talked about was like when you first walk into a locker room, especially a brand new locker room, scan the room, look around. Sometimes you look at the roster, see if you know anybody. We scan the room. Do I know anyone? And if I don't, does anyone in here look like me? Right. And that might be a little tough for us in baseball. Right? Because
bro, who you telling? How many black kids you played with, bro? Or Asians?
Exactly. Yeah, no. Fucking next to none, bro, for real. Next to none. Definitely no Filipinos, I'll tell you that. If I did, it would be like fucking Japanese but like I'm nothing wrong. I just never played with any other person.
You never played with Filipino, right?
Never mind.
How crazy? How would you react if you came into a locker room and you saw a Filipino in it?
I'd be like, "Are you my cousin? Like, yeah, give me a hug. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. Yeah. Did you eat? Yeah. But yeah.
Share my sandwich with you. Here you go.
Yeah, bringing in a banana leaf, like, let's have lunch before we run out there.
Sit there.
Facts. Like, hey, we got a game out there. It's like, I don't care. This is my family. So yeah, there's a diversity component, but then there's also like the inclusion component. I think a lot of people group D&I together, diversity and inclusion together, and they're like, yep, same thing. Like, we're like, nah, bro. Like, diversity is range of people. Inclusion is building that sense of belonging and culture. I want to talk about one last thing before we hop off, which is about the concept of toxic masculinity. And we did touch on that a little bit, talked about toxicity, we talked about masculinity, but as far as where those two paths cross, I feel like in the past we probably weren't open about our struggles off the field, or I mean maybe on the field, but definitely not off the field. We didn't talk about our vulnerability. How do you think that shifted over the years?
Bro, we had a crazy situation like that last season on my team. We had a stacked squad. I mean, 6, 7 out of our guys were minor leaguers, and that's big for a German club. Yeah, bro, we were stacked. But speaking about being open about your current situation in life that might be overwhelming, but you do not speak about it, led to an outburst, led to an outburst, where the water started boiling over in the pot, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a crazy outrage, like it was outbreak. I can't even explain it, bro. It's like bucket is flying around in the dugout with balls, craziness, ridiculous outburst. Because somebody on that team, I'm not going to say names, but somebody on that team was not open about their current situation and how it's been overwhelming them, the situation that they've been in, because they also had the presence of control of everything. So that's too something where I am a big friend of, is like that open door policy in the locker room. Like if there's shit that's bothering you, if there's any place to say it, it's the locker room.
Yeah.
Speak up. Like, but that's where that encouragement comes into place, and that's what I could jump right in and say the program that we put into life this year, the program about anti-discrimination, is like teaching character to speak up about situations that are occurring and encouraging to talk about if there's that are bothering you, that are serious. You know, it's like, even if they're not serious, like small, non-serious things can become one big serious thing. You get what I'm saying? There's so many conversations I can think of where I had with people, because I'm an open book. Like, if I feel shitty, I'm gonna tell you, like, yo, I'm like trash, da 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 da. Or like I could look at somebody and be like, this dude's definitely off today. I'm gonna be like, yo, you good? You good, son? Like, let's talk about it. Like,
Right.
not a beautiful type of way, but like, bro, what's popping? What's happening? Like, we're here. Let's talk about it. And I think that's something that needs to be more and appreciated, that you can do that, because that to a winning culture too. That happens in the locker room. You know?
Yeah, it's a fact, bro. All right, so then that leads me into my very last kind of point of discussion here, and you kind of began to scratch the surface of it. Encouraging dialogue is extremely crucial to developing that discriminatory type of vibe. But like, what does that look like now? Like, what does that vernacular look like? What does that body language look like? Like, what are some ways in which you've kind of tried to dismantle some components, some negative components of locker room culture, and how have you executed that?
The first thing that is immediate popped into my mind is when somebody expresses themselves, the first thing that they would say, or say too, like, stop being a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
You little bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is he really a bitch, bro? He just expressed himself that there's some, and in any time of term, I cannot judge that. But I've been a victim of that. I've been in someone that judged on that front. Like, I stopped being a little bitch, you know, and I could have maybe not said that. That those are some things that I think is like something that pops right into my mind that needs to be dismantled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that type
bro.
of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like the way in which you converse outside will always, no matter the setting, rise to the surface, right? Like, so if you're angry and emotions are flying high, you're gonna say shit that you probably wouldn't have if you were in a more controlled setting. So what I mean by that is, like, your true character does pop out, and I think that unlearning a lot of things would really, really pay dividends to that culture. Like, let's say unlearning to use the term "stop being a bitch," or you know what I mean, like that takes time. That takes time.
Oh, for sure, bro. Definitely, it's so ingrained. It is
Yeah.
super vocabulary that it's like it's second nature to talk like that, but having the conscious awareness of more precise with your wording and understanding your wording is like, and I've been super in tune when I teach kids to really be precise with my words. And I can see how they react to the certain things that I say. And that I want to carry that over into more locker room culture for now. It's like I really want to create a fucking super vibey-esque locker room. Like I'm talking about renovating the place. I'm talking about going into my own pocket. I want a place of I want like a safe haven. I want I want the locker room I want the team that I'm starting for as the pitchers have a locker room that I want to sleep in
A home.
peacefully. A home. I want that shit to be peaceful. So I like coming in and throwing shit around, like all that type of stuff. Nah, that shit's done for.
Mm-hmm.
I want that culture to die.
Yeah.
I want to read. Hey, locker room. Hey, check the name out. Locker room. Locker room.
Yeah,
It's a
facts.
locker
Yo,
room
I'm right there.
rebirth.
I'm right there with you, bro. Like, let's.
Real quick, what were your thoughts when you saw Team Germany in the locker room?
Yeah, so I actually made a note of that. Okay, maybe I didn't write it down, but I mean, to answer your question, bro, like as soon as I walked in, like I felt like I was one of the players, and I was like, like
Where's my
that's pretty
jersey?
cool. That's interesting. Yeah, facts. Like, yo, where's my locker? Where my spikes at? But nah, bro, like I felt like one of the guys, and I was like, bro, like if I feel that as a fucking staff member, I can only imagine how welcomed I would feel as a backup middle infielder that probably would be a defensive replacement in a blowout game. You know what I mean? Because like I'm one of the 40, and in fact, I think it came with a different pride, repping your fucking country across your chest. So like that's got to be different. I think about that a lot too. But yeah, walking into the locker room, bro, Team Germany. It's funny because it was small, in that it was like divided in half. If you remember, like they had that curtain running across. But no, I mean, I just felt super welcomed, and it was just funny because like I felt like I could go up to any of the guys, but that's a byproduct of the elder statesmen, or at least the guys that have been here before, implementing that type of culture and that vibe of like, like anyone that comes through, they're one of us, especially if like they're fucking helping us, regardless of their role. So like in that case, like I wasn't gonna be swinging in the ninth, but like I still was treated like an equal, even if I was fucking booking flights. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
that's a super heavy point that I have to take away here is that even when his contribution is not direct to the outcome on the field, their role is equally important as the closer that's coming in with a 2-1 ball game with runner at second and third with no outs.
Yeah. Yeah, and having that attitude, that mentality, bro, invaluable. I think I'll turn it over to you for a big takeaway after mine. So for me, the big takeaway was that I think that examining the locker room culture really helps us identify what could be kept versus what should be dismantled. And when we dismantle a lot of entities that we don't want to see in our locker room, we carry that out into society, and then it becomes societal improvement, which is something that I'm proud of, because I've always seen, and you probably agree, that sports are a metaphor for life. And so when we're doing a little shit between the foul lines and behind the closed doors and those four walls of the locker room, then it begins to radiate through you as a person and in the rooms that you go on to be in, whether that be in an office, in a corporate world, or even just chilling with your boys, trying to make a difference. So that's my big takeaway, bro.
Bro, I don't think I can add anything onto that. That's spot on. That is so spot on, bro. And that's just enlightens more of a fire to change that place that I'm in now. if you want change, you got to be the change, you know. And if you start by applying the small things done right, by having a clean rock locker and redo and introducing that type of culture in the locker room, controlling what you can control, and that is how you keep your house clean. Like once you do that, watch how the field stuff. Watch how you stop making so many errors because you understand that it's clean. You present yourself as a clean individual in between the foul lines because you come from a space that is outside of the foul line clean. And that's how my dad raised me when I lived in Philly. It's like, yes, sir, no, sir. Okay, I'm gonna call you yes, sir, no, sir. What do you do that? Well, I do because I call my dad that and he taught me that. You know, it's like look somebody in the eyes when you speak to them. Start implementing that happens. Doors are going to start opening up to you. Like start treating your locker room like it's your own living room and watch how everything else unfolds as you would. That's beautiful, bro. That's powerful. That's something that just enlightens my spirit. I'm gonna send you before and after pictures of our locker room, bro.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
I'm gonna show you how that shit looks now, and I'm on a mission, bro, to clean that shit up.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna get you a locker room with your name on it.
Yo, let's go. Let me get that plate. Yeah, bro. I mean, yo, it's just cutting. It's just the little shit along the way, man. Can't cut corners, and especially for implementing transformative change. I think that the way you present as well as talk in the locker room, it'll go beyond just those four walls. This was dope. Hopefully the recording is smooth as hell. But I mean, I appreciated this. I'm gonna just stop recording shortly. We'll stay on for a few, but yeah, any parting words before we kill the recording?
Hey, bro. What I see, what you do, man, is there's this story that I once heard. There's a church community in a church, and the light they were doing like those right of the family of churches, like where they all dressed up and like take a picture of the family and stuff on the altar, and got cut off. So the camera photo anymore because there was no light. But then they had a flashlight, and there was like a young daughter who said, "Wait, I just hold the light up. I could take the picture." And I feel like and when I heard that story, I had to think about the stuff that you're doing now with like the video. It's like, bro, you're doing exactly that. It's like you're not wanting to be in the limelight, but you're making sure that other people can get have the light shine on them. I want to encourage you to continue on doing that, bro. That's a major key. That's why I hit you up. I was like, yo, bro, I want you to do that for me. Like, I want you to share my story a little bit. Like, let's do like with this off season, like the grind, the know where you go grind. Like, I want to document that a little bit more. So I want you to continue on doing that because that's lavish ass shit, bro. That's just major key.
Appreciate it, bro. For real.
Amazing.
Thank you for that. I mean, I think that when you love what you do, it allows you to be massively patient in the process. And because I love what it is that I'm doing, it'll allow me to tell more stories like those. So look forward to that, bro. Awesome. Appreciate it.